Hello and welcome to the Mental Health Awareness video series. My name is Dr. Lynette Hillsberg and I am a counsellor. The subject of mental health is rarely discussed. Knowing what can control or change our mental health is important. We need to understand why we feel different and how the choices in our lives can affect our overall mental state. These videos are aimed to help open the conversation to bring awareness of this sensitive topic and encourage people to reach out for support if needed. The information will benefit the deaf, hard of hearing, vision impaired and hearing communities because the information is given in sign, voice and closed captions. As Auslan is my second language and out of respect to the community, I feel it's important that I have a deaf person sign on my behalf while I do voiceover. I would like to introduce James as the interviewer and Trisha as my deaf person who have agreed to help me raise awareness around this sensitive topic. I'd also like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay our respects to the elders past, present and future, for they hold the memories, traditions, culture and hopes of Aboriginal Australia.
Hello and welcome. Today we are talking about counselling. Why is this needed? How can you access it? And what happens when you go to a counsellor? With me today, I have Dr. Lynette Hillsberg, who will explain what this means. Welcome, Lynette, and thanks for chatting.
Thanks, James. It's a pleasure to be here.
So tell me briefly, what is counselling and why do we need this?
Well, counselling is a process of talking about and working through your personal problems. The counsellor helps you address your problems in a really positive way, helping you clarify the issues, exploring options, develop strategies and increase your self-awareness. Counselling provides confidential support.
I'm not sure whether counselling is for me. What can I get help with?
Well, most people find it helpful simply to talk to somebody else about challenging issues they may be facing as a way of getting some guidance, advice, or simply just to get stuff off their chest.
So why is it important?
Counselling may help those who are struggling in the world. They may help deal with personal issues like loss of a job, divorce, a very stressful time for anyone, and that can get the person back on their feet feeling empowered and stronger than ever.
I see, but surely I can just go to my friends and have a chat?
Yeah, but professional counselling provided through clinician trained in counselling. And the experience and process itself is likely to be different than talking to a friend or a third party who's actually not a trained counsellor.
And what's the process with this?
Well, the counsellor will ask you to describe what's currently happening for you, facilitate your own reflection, so you want to hear your own emotional and cognitive processing, and this process then leads to focusing on what needs to change, and you can determine the best course of actions, and they might provide suggestions, recommendations for you to follow.
I'm really concerned about sharing my personal information. What information do I need to share at the appointment and how is my information handled?
Well, what you choose to share in counselling is entirely up to you. It's always in your best interest to discuss any issues openly and honestly with a counselling process. Otherwise, it's not worthwhile because you might be withholding information that's critical to yours or somebody else's well-being.
What happens to my personal information? How do I know it won't be shared with others?
Well, your personal information is always treated with due care and respect, and counsellors are subject to strict clauses and standards of ethical practice related to information management. This includes strict privacy laws, and they always follow these.
I can't make it in person and would prefer to do this over the telephone or internet. Is this sort of counselling as effective as face-to-face?
Well, each person's experience of counselling is different, and there's probably not enough evidence to provide definitive answer to this question. There's good research to support the use of telephone-based or internet counselling, particularly in crisis intervention service, say suicide prevention, mental health, adolescence and domestic violence support.
So, how effective is internet or phone counselling?
Well, it's actually really been used by a lot of people very effectively now for a number of years. However, in the 2020 pandemic, the way we work has changed a lot for many people. Some people still prefer face-to-face and others might not have a particular preference either way. One of the most convenient ways to access counselling is through the internet platforms like Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, etc. And if you don't give it a go, you may never know.
I don't think I'll be able to find the time to go to counselling. Can I schedule an appointment to fit into my busy day?
Most registered professional counsellors can look at your preferred times and accommodate most requests, and that includes after hours, weekends, as long as they're reasonable.
So, what happens when I start counselling? What types of therapy are available to me?
Well, there's many different types of therapy, and there's usually not a one type fits all. And the clinician will adapt to use what they feel is best intervention for you, and that might be a mix or a specific type of different types.
Okay, so what are the types of interventions and can you explain these?
Yeah, there's quite a few types of interventions. There's narrative therapy and schema-focused therapy, and that includes CBT, interpersonal, and psychoanalytic, interpersonal psychotherapy. You've got emotion-focused therapy, hypnotherapy, self-help, problem-solving therapy, psychoeducation, person-centred therapy, and solution-focused brief therapy.
Wow, that's a lot. Can you break them down for me?
Yeah, sure. So the first type is called narrative therapy. And this is a form of psychotherapy. It seeks to help people identify the values and skills associated with them. So it provides knowledge of their ability to live these values so they can effectively confront current and future problems. Then we have schema-focused therapy, and more properly, schema-focused cognitive therapy. And that's the integrative approach to treatment that combines the best aspects of cognitive, experiential, interpersonal and psychoanalytic therapies in one unified model.
Right. So what are these?
Okay, so behavioural therapy is based on the belief that behaviours learned in response to past experience can be unlearned or reconditioned. Without analysing the past to find out the reasons why this behaviour happened. It supports a person to address issues regarding compulsive and obsessive behaviours, fears, phobias and addictions.
And how is this different to cognitive behavioural therapy?
Well, cognitive behavioural therapy combines cognitive and behavioural techniques. Clients are taught ways to change their thoughts and expectations with accompanying relaxation techniques, and it supports clients to address issues regarding stress-related ailments, phobias, obsessions, eating disorders. Additionally, it accompanies pharmacotherapy interventions when treating major depression.
And what is interpersonal psychotherapy?
Well, interpersonal psychotherapy, or IPT, is a time-limited, focused, evidence-based approach to treat mood disorders. The main goal is to improve the quality of a client's interpersonal relationship, social functioning and help reduce their distress. It provides strategies to resolve problems in 4 key areas like social, not drift into isolation or bad relationships, grief, retirement, divorce, also moving into a different city.
So, what is the difference between this and psychodynamic interpersonal psychotherapy?
Okay, so psychodynamic interpersonal psychotherapy, PIT, is a treatment that has been shown to help people with a range of different problems, such as depression, self-harm, relationship difficulties, personality disturbance and function, so-called medical unexplained symptoms.
And these are all part of schema-focused therapy?
Yeah, that's right.
So tell me more about the other types of interventions.
Okay, the next one's emotion-focused therapy, or EFT, and this approach is based on the premise emotions are key to identity. According to this, it's a guide for individual choice and decision-making and assumes that lacking emotional awareness or avoiding unpleasant emotions can cause harm.
And what about hypnotherapy? I don't want to be turned into a chicken.
No, you won't get turned into a chicken. Hypnotherapy is used to create a state of focused attention and increase suggestibility. During which positive suggestions and guided imagery are used. This helps individuals with a variety of concerns and issues. There's no chickens involved.
That's good to know. So what about self-care therapy? That sounds quite nice.
Yeah, in the term self-care describes the actions that a person takes to reach optimal physical and mental health. And these include self-help techniques like creating a self-care plan and physical self-care plan.
Interesting. Now, I have heard about the next one, problem-solving therapy.
Yeah, problem-solving therapy. It's cognitive behavioural intervention geared to improve an individual's ability to cope with the stressful life experiences. An underlying assumption of this approach in that symptoms of psychopathology can be often understood as the negative consequences of ineffective and maladapting behaviours.
Okay, and what about psychoeducation?
Well, this refers to the process of providing education, information to those seeking or receiving mental health services and diagnosed with mental health conditions or illnesses and their family members.
Right. And what about person-centered therapy?
Okay, so this allows the client to see themselves as the person who has the power to change their circumstances, rather than an object who accepts circumstances. By entering into a therapeutic alliance with a counsellor, they assist the client to develop internal resources and then allows the person to freely express emotions, feelings in a safe environment without any sort of judgment and come to terms with the negative feelings that have caused the emotional problems.
Wow, that sounds challenging. And with the last one, what is solution-focused brief therapy?
Yeah, well, this promotes positive change rather than dwelling on past problems. And they're encouraged to focus positively on what they do well, set goals and work out how they were going to achieve them. And people, they do respond to this type of therapy in as little as 3 or 4 sessions.
I like the sound of that one. It seems very positive.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite. It can help the person get back on track really quickly and they can move forward then with their future.
Well, thank you, Lynette, for explaining what counselling is and what happens when you go to see a counsellor. I find it fascinating that there are so many ways to talk through issues and help people move forward. It's so interesting. Thank you again for your time. It was lovely to chat with you, and I hope we can chat again.
Oh, thanks, James. Lovely to chat with you too. I look forward to catching up again and discussing the topic of mental health in more detail.